When League introduced this watch sometimes last year, it didn't get off to a very good start. It was priced much higher than it probably should have been. There were, let's say, some inconsistencies between the product listings and the actual watch. Now, League seemed to fix the listings and drop the price where I think it kind of should have been from the very start, but have they now fully redeemed themselves and made it all good? There are still some bold claims like a high beat 28,800 vibrations per hour movement, and the product listing pictures are still pretty good. Well, today we have all the tools we need, well, most of them, and as always, we aren't afraid to use them, so let's take a closer look at this watch. Hello and welcome to the channel. If you already subscribed, thank you and very warm welcome back. And if you're new here, well, do consider subscribing. It does help us to bring you more reviews. So, a spoiler alert, not all is as expected, even after the product listing fix and after the price drop. Now, how bad is it? Well, let's put all the facts on the table first. In the usual format, I will cover the price, key dimensions and specifications of this watch. Also, as usual, I will share my first impressions and, of course, what I think is good and what I think is not so good about this watch, and highlight any quality control issues that I managed to find so far. Also, naturally, I will be posting pictures of this and other watches on our Instagram account, so do check them out. The link is in the description. First, the price. I paid just over $45 for this watch on AliExpress. This watch at the point of introduction was priced from memory somewhere around $75, so the price adjustment is a welcome change. In terms of shipment, I bought it from League official store, and to their credit, the watch was shipped very quickly and arrived to the UK within weeks. Right. Packaging. So we have a cardboard box, quite sturdy I must say. Inside we have packed in a small envelope user manual, unsigned guarantee card, a small branded cloth and a tag. League also included a nifty little double-sided screwdriver, which, as we will see in this review, I couldn't exactly make any use of. And of course we have the watch, which I already unwrapped in the unboxing video. Dimensions. Okay, the case diameter is just under 14.5mm or 40.4mm to be precise. Case height is 13mm, we have 20mm lugs, lug tip to lug tip is about 47.5mm, and because we have protruding end links, this measurement mostly defines how the watch sits on the wrist, so the distance from end link to end link is 52.5mm. The bracelet tapers towards the clasp down to about 16mm, and we have what appears to be a butterfly clasp. Well, more about it later. The bracelet at full length should cover up to 8¼ inch wrist or about 21 cm in circumference. On the fully supplied stainless steel bracelet, the watch weighs about 150 grams. Dial. This is of course a green dial watch, and the Rolex Submariner that this one is paying homage to is nicknamed the Hulk. The dial has quite pronounced sunburst effect. On one hand, I like it, however, because there is not much, if any, anti-reflective coating on the crystal, the strong sunburst effect, together with a bit of a crystal glare, kind of hurts the legibility to some degree. Not a showstopper by any means, but on few occasions it took me a split of a second to make sure that I'm actually looking at the hands and not at the sunburst arrays on the dial. Of course, we have a familiar Mercedes and Lollipop hands, and we have applied our markers and a printed minute chaptering, leaving very little doubt to what watch this one is paying homage to. Now we have a date window at 3 o'clock position. The date cyclop magnification is somewhere around probably 1.5 times, so yes, definitely not 2.5. However, the date is crisp and quite legible. When it comes to writing, personally, I think it is a bit too busy for no particular reason. Well, 3 lines around 6 o'clock and 2 lines plus applied logo at 12. And if I kind of understand the writing at the bottom of the dial, the writing under the applied logo doesn't make much sense. Why did they have to remind us that this is a watch? And what the design Lig means, well, the same as the 1856. And to top it all up, the logo seemed to be ever so slightly at an angle, with the bottom side of the logo pointing slightly to the left rather than straight down. Well, the only positive here, in my opinion, is that Lig used a light grey color for the writing, and therefore the busy writing does not stand out so much. While we are talking about the positives, it is a good time to mention the lume. The lume on this $45 watch is surprisingly decent for the price. It will not light up the room, but it performs okay, taking into the account the price point. My only complaint here is that lume is somewhat uneven in places, and especially on that 12 o'clock pip on the bezel, but then again, not exactly a showstopper in my opinion, again taking into account the price. Crystal, we do have a nice and flat mineral glass here. As I mentioned earlier, it doesn't look like any anti-reflective coating was applied. The cyclop for the date window seems ever so slightly shifted to the right. Not a big deal, to be honest. A slight shift kind of works and almost looks like a feature rather than a problem. Bezel. This watch has a ceramic insert unidirectional 60 clicks bezel with lumed 12 o'clock pip. It looks like a decent bezel with engraved chaptering. I also like the color, works pretty well with the color of the dial. Also, the bezel aligns pretty well, at least on my watch. So, this is good. Now, in regards to bezel action, well, it is 60 clicks bezel, and the bezel action is very average. There is a backplay and a bit of a kind of side-to-side movement as well, which is also acceptable at this price point in my opinion. However, what I found a bit strange is the resistance inconsistency as I rotate the bezel. It kind of feels okay and for a few clicks, and then the resistance changes and okay again. Well, maybe it is just a quality control issue on my watch, and if you already have one of these, please let us know in the comments if the bezel action on your watch is actually smooth enough. Moving on to the case is actually executed pretty well. Stainless steel construction, good brushing and polishing. The finishing is not super flawless, however, is somewhat even better than I would expect on a $45 watch. So, no complaints here. We have a screw-down crown protected by crown guards, and the crown is signed as well. Moving on to the back of the case, we have a screw-on see-through back case, which again at this price point is more than acceptable. Liege declares 100 meters water resistance, which again makes perfect sense with the screw-down crown and back case. So we should be able to take this watch for a swim. Movement. Now, this is the area that I was very curious about. It is not very common to find a high-beat 28,800 vibrations per hour movement on the budget watch. Most budget movements tick at 21,600 beats per hour, including the very popular Seiko NH35 and also Miyota 8000 series movements and most of entry-level Seagull movements that are usually used in the budget watches. So, let's have a quick look what we have here. So, here we go. We definitely have a 28,800 beats per hour movement here, which is good. The beat arrow is also minimal and the amplitudes seem to be okay as well. However, I couldn't find what type of lift angle should be used for this movement, so I left the time grapher on the default value of 52 degrees. As far as I know, the lift angle setting only affects the amplitude reading, so we can still have a reliable reading of the accuracy, and I must say it is a very decent reading indeed. I haven't used any other watches with this type of movement before, so I'm not sure about reliability long term. However, I like what I see on the time grapher. If you have this watch for a while, it would be interesting to know how accurate is it. Please let us know in the comments. In regards to the crown action, it is okay, similar to other Chinese-made movements that I reviewed in the past, like Seagull ST6 for example. Also, this movement hangs and winds, and we have a quick set date. Bracelet. Well, this is where things got, should we say, a little bit interesting. Initially, I was impressed. I like the whole brushed bracelet rather than mirror-polished facets. The scratches are by far less visible, and it gives the watch overall more robust look, which I like. However, my excitement was short-lived. That is, until I saw the clasp. which is quite different from the clasp on the product pictures. I checked with the seller and yes, they stopped using the clasp that is visible on product pictures and now use this butterfly-style clasp. I believe one of the key reasons was not the greatest quality of the old clasp in the first place. I will talk more about it in the summary section in a moment. In the meantime, let's see what we actually get here. So, as I already mentioned, fully brushed solid links with mirror polished sides. We also have solid end links, and the links are connected using push pins, so pretty straightforward to adjust. And as for the clasp, yes, only butterfly clasp, not signed, and no macro adjustments, and no half links either, so accurate wrist adjustment might be a bit of a challenge. Well, so the good. The price is okay. For a $45 watch we get a high beat movement, decent stainless steel construction, okayish lume, ceramic bezel that actually aligns, and 100 meters of water resistance, and a decent color combination. I like the shade of green that they chose for the dial and the bezel and how it all works together. Now, of course, I also like the brushed bracelet links. Now, the bad. Well, few things really, and most if not all are already mentioned, like for example a slightly inconsistent application of lume, a slight quality control on the applied logo on the dial, and not to forget a really poor bezel action. It got better since I unboxed the watch, so chances are that it will smooth out at the end, so I will most likely need to do a follow-up on this. And of course the bracelet. Okay, we get and all the brushed links, which is good, and Lidge replaced the unreliable clasp, but the replacement is actually not that fantastic. It is only a simple butterfly clasp with a very limited adjustment options. So what do you think? Or a well-functioning butterfly clasp is perfectly acceptable at this price point? Well, please let us know in the comments. And of course, if you find this review helpful, smash that like button, and of course subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, thank you for watching, take care, and I will see you in the next one.